Welcome to the Living Wholehearted podcast, where we're helping leaders live with integrity.
Whether you're a mom or a CEO, you're a leader, and how you lead matters.
Well, today we are going to cover one of your favorite topics. We're talking about conflict. Now, that is a word that can trigger lots of us. And what I mean by trigger is just you have a visceral response to it because you probably have a lot of memories in your past, many that you've tried to forget. And some of us actually did grow up in healthy family systems and healthy churches and environments where we learned how to do conflict well. But I would say majority of us have either homes or systems where we avoided conflict, or it exploded anytime somebody had an opinion that was different than somebody else's. So we really want to maybe tackle the topic of what is conflict? How do we actually address conflict in healthy ways? And particularly when we're talking about being moms and raising healthy daughters, and particularly our Courageous Girls groups. If you don't have a Courageous Girls group and you're listening to this podcast, remember this information really applies to you today as well. However, if you're a Courageous Girl mama, we really want you to listen in. And this is going to really help you with your relationship with your kids, your spouse, and the women in your group, as well as really fostering a healthy, sustainable Courageous Girls group. What is Courageous Girls? Courageous Girls is an online curriculum that helps moms and daughters move through the many, many years of a daughter's life from second grade to high school. We gather together in small groups of about 6 to 8 moms and daughters. We meet once a month and we move through a curriculum that really addresses the issues that girls are facing today. So if you're interested, go to mycourageousgirls.com and check out our free online curriculum. We would love you to start a group. In the meantime, I have our wonderful Courageous Girls leadership team with us. Stephanie and Beth are here. They're our leadership coaches. They're here to help come alongside you, and they're going to help me with this dialogue around conflict. Beth, let's start with you. Let's start with, what is conflict? I mean, seriously, it's a big word. When you think of conflict, what do you think of?
Well, it's a range, right? It can be what most people probably think of conflict, a big battle, a big argument, a slammed door, or I'm not going to talk to that person, or we have an issue that we really need to talk about. But really, it can be something as little as, that person's a little different from me. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Maybe I won't talk to that person as much, or maybe I'm going to start building some distaste for that person, or I don't trust them just because there's a little difference in how we see something.
Yeah, so it could be as small as like a little splinter, or it can be a log against the head where you're like, oh, this is painful. Stephanie, how would you define conflict? Anything you want to add?
I would just kind of piggyback off of what Beth said, that conflict can be just a little seedling of, I have a different opinion, a different thought process, and I'm going to start distancing myself from that individual instead of pressing into that and getting to know that person at a deeper level and letting them hear me and me hear them. And I find that happens even in my daughter's relationships. There's just little differences, and they want to process through that with me, and really trying to encourage them to go back to that person and process through, and not write them off that they're not a friend just because of a difference of thought or opinion or what have you. So.
Yeah, it happens so much even between our little kids, and what they're learning now is going to play out in their adulthoods, in their marriages, and in their friendships. Ladies, you might not believe this, but I spent many years without having any conflict with any friend. Many, many years. As a pleaser, I really denied my own thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and I could really just adjust. So that meant that conflict didn't exist. However, what it also meant is that intimacy didn't exist. You have to have conflict in order to really be known or to know someone else, and you've got to be able to learn how to both share your voices. So when two have a voice and we're able to actually move through it in a safe way, That's conflict. That's healthy conflict resolution. And it builds intimacy. It's the kindling to the fire of deeper intimacy. So it's kind of an essential ingredient. And that's been one of the huge pieces of my heart and passion for Courageous Girls, is that my girls would learn different and that they would have the tools. And I think they do. They have a voice and they're already able to use that voice very well. So let's dive in. Why do you think, Stephanie, for us girls, it can be harder? And women, I think we can throw us women in that too. Why do you think it's harder for us to do conflict than maybe we notice with men? I think men struggle too, but in general.
You know, I think we feel this need to have it all together, and that for whatever reason, conflict is connotated with a negative association. And unfortunately, that is completely a myth, lie, and of the enemy. There is so much good that can come if we press into conflict in a healthy way, and giving ourselves that permission. I was thinking about this, and as I think of my kids, we have conflict all the time, and I celebrate those moments because those are learning moments. I don't think any less of my kiddos for entering into conflict, because that is an opportunity to learn and grow. And so why is it as an adult that you feel shame for having to work through a situation? It's such an opportunity, and the Lord wants to give his abundance of grace and strip away that stigma of shame. And so I am excited to be able to help others see that this is nothing to have any shame about, but there's such beauty in it and such richness that can come through pressing into conflict in a healthy way. So,
But it's hard. Conflict is
so
hard.
Yes.
It's so humbling, to go through conflict and have to be okay saying, I messed up, or being okay to listen and try to find empathy for the other person. I think that's one of the reasons it's so hard. We don't want to do it.
Don't.
We'd rather run.
It's hard to have empathy for someone when you think you're right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's super hard. And yet, to your point, Stephanie, it really is so good. And so the first step is to start to reframe that conflict actually is a beautiful thing. It's like going to the dentist. Some of us have real trauma going to the dentist, but it is a preventative. It's sometimes you got to get a cavity filled, but for the most part, it's to help so not the decay and the disease doesn't spread throughout your entire mouth and your body, actually. So going to the dentist, it's not a fun thing, but it's really a good thing, and it can be pleasurable. It can be enjoyable. Especially when you get the bubble gum rinse out stuff, right?
I have to ask for that next time.
Okay. All right, ladies, let's talk a little bit about examples, because there's probably some listeners that are going, yeah, I don't really get into conflict much, or the conflict I'm thinking of is not really going to happen. So let's give examples of different conflicts that we've had either in our Courageous Girls groups or with our own daughters or with friendships.
It can be in our Courageous Girls group between moms. It can be such just two of us might have a different idea. I hear that all the time, actually, from lots of women who are leading and who are part of Courageous Girls groups, and any woman who is part of any group, and they're building intimacy or going deeper together and learning and growing together. There's a difference in opinion. I mean, that's tricky. We don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to handle it.
We don't. And is it okay that there's different opinions?
Well, we're all made so differently. It would be weird if there weren't.
Yeah, it would be weird. And yet somehow we think that everyone should think. And we also have different stories. So that's playing such a huge role. So just the one that I'm hearing you say is just being different wirings and having different backgrounds can create a natural conflict just by having different opinions and approaches.
Yes, different expectations.
Different expectations. That's a huge one. Okay. What else, Stephanie?
I know something that is, happening just even with my girls is sometimes they'll share something with me and I won't realize that it's privileged information. And sometimes I share it with another friend, just, thinking that it's not it wasn't as big of a deal, and that mom shares it with her daughter, and her daughter shares it with my daughter, and again, that's such a learning moment for me as a mom to better clarify with my girls what is privileged information versus what's okay for me to share. But again, learning through that. Another one, just as a mom, can be when you are in a group, sometimes you can feel left out.
Yeah.
It's hard to balance as a leader and as a member, to make sure everyone feels included and part. And even the most innocent of circumstances can cause someone to feel left out, which can, again, start to create that distance. And so encouraging women, if you are feeling that way, to press in and have the courage to voice that, because through that, there can be greater deepness and richness in your community or in that friendship. To not just bury it, sweep it under the rug and say it's not a big deal. Because if you're hurting, it is. That's your feelings, right? So acknowledging.
So having courage to be vulnerable,
Yes.
and maybe starting with a leader first might always be the safest place to start. But just to say, yeah, I'm having a regular feeling of feeling left out. Brainstorming together. I mean, sometimes the conflict is external and it's not really about the relationship, but it's out there and you need someone to help you figure out a resolution for that. Sometimes it's innocently done by like, I didn't realize this was privileged information and I was just talking mom to mom,
Right.
and I just told something that was really important to my daughter. And so, yes, let's talk about that one specifically here in a minute. Any other conflicts that we're missing?
Well, even between the girls. I mean, that's normal. I mean, they're little girls learning how to grow up and have relationships. So different. They all have different personalities, and the filters are not always developed yet. And and just saying things or being bossy or hurting feelings or someone not feeling included. I mean, it's just an endless opportunity to help them grow and face the conflict, face it. And it's normal and it's okay.
I love that. It's normal and it's okay. It's what we do with it that starts to get funky and smell.
Yep.
So we've got some tactics that we've mentioned already. We might stuff it and pretend it's no big deal when it actually is a big deal, no matter how small it may be. It's important to address. It's very normal to feel left out, especially as groups are developing. But even in groups that have been together for 6 years or more, those feelings come in and creep in. And it's just the temptations of the enemy. And again, being human. I think just our humanity makes us vulnerable there. And so having to constantly work on what is true. And if I don't know what is true, then I have to actually come to the person, whether it's my daughter or the other mom. The other one that I'll mention, and then we'll move forward to maybe some practical tools, is the moment when your daughter and another daughter maybe have or something going on, and that feeling of wanting to pull away from the mom because the daughters have something going on. So it's this kind of vicarious conflict that happens, even though the issue is between our daughters. We all of a sudden now want to take something up with that mama because they're not parenting well or they're whatever the issues are. That also is very normal, but we've got to combat that. We really have to combat that, specifically in our Courageous Girls groups. So we're normalizing. Hopefully this relates. And obviously, if you have a relationship and you're married, there's lots of conflict over there, but that's not what this is about today. However, you can apply these principles. All right, let's talk about first step to conflict, listening. Listening. So you have to be able to listen to somebody come to you and say, hey, I've been hurt by you, or there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about. That's kind of probably a softer start in for a lot of people. Hey, can we have a moment to talk? Can I schedule a time with you? And your heart rate starts going like, oh no, what's going to happen?
What's going on?
So being able to be a good listener gives us a chance to not only ground our own bodies so that we can hear the information coming at us, but it also might give us some insights to how to empathize and really come to some solutions. So we're going to actually practice a little bit of the model we use at Living Wholehearted and Courageous Girls, mirroring, validating, and empathizing. If you hear us speak anywhere, this is our ongoing way of listening. We do a lot of practicing of this in Courageous Girls between moms and daughters and between those in the group. So I want one of you to tell me the conflict that you have. Pick an example. And you're going to tell me, and I'm going to be the modeling listener. So I'm going to mirror, validate, and empathize as best that I can. Beth, I'm sure you've got conflict with me. Let's bring it all out in front of everybody.
Oh dear. Well, not really today, but I'll come up with something here.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We'll just hypothetically, I mean, obviously our daughters are friends. This isn't necessarily anything that's ever happened with them, but I could come to you and say, I've been noticing, Tara, I'm struggling here. I'm not sure exactly what to do, but I've been noticing that our daughters are pulling away, and I've been noticing a coldness between them. And I'm not exactly sure what that means. This is hard to say, but I've been hearing that your daughter has been saying certain things about my daughter, or she's been ignoring her at school, and my daughter doesn't, I don't know how to help her, how to help them.
Yeah. Wow. I am so glad that you're coming to me. And first off, it just takes so much courage to be able to come talk to me about this, Beth. So thank you. I just want you to know. And what I'm hearing is that you're noticing some changes that are happening with our daughters, and you're not sure what's going on. So you're coming to me to kind of talk about it and see maybe how we could help our girls. The other piece I heard is that you have heard, I'm assuming through your daughter, that my daughter maybe is saying some harmful things, hurtful things. And so I want to better understand that, or at least let me know. Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Is there more?
No, that's really all I've been hearing. And I just, before it goes further, or before they completely break in friendship or it impacts our friendship, I just wanted to talk.
I'm so glad, because I don't want our friendship to be impacted. So, and they have so much history, and so we definitely want that to be resolved. So, okay, I can totally see why you are coming to me. Help me understand a little bit more. And so, time out here. Yeah. I would typically then ask some clarifying questions. It might feel like I'm trying to prove you wrong if I had a very interrogative tone. But if I have a very open, tell me more posture, tell me more, help me understand, is it okay that you tell me what your daughter told me? I'll hold it in confidence. I'm not going to run to my daughter and say, she said, he sheds, he said. I'm not going to run to my daughter and give that away out of confidence, but help me understand. So this would be the place where I would ask clarifying questions and do some more listening.
That sounds, and I also want to clarify that this isn't happening.
I know.
Okay. It's just
our listeners, our daughters are okay. You can rest.
Rest easy tonight.
Okay. So mirroring, validating. So after I've done some mirroring, now I'm going to validate. I haven't even got to say my side yet, but that doesn't matter because I need to make sure that you, Beth, know that I've heard you and that I can understand where you're coming from. So I can see why you're concerned. And it sounds like my daughter's been saying some hurtful things, and it sounds like there's something going on for her that I don't know. She's not been talking to me about it. So I should probably investigate that a little bit. Totally see. And I hear, this is going to empathy. I hear that you seem maybe nervous that our friendship could be impacted, concerned, maybe a little worried. Yeah. I don't hear any defensiveness, but maybe I'm wrong.
No defensiveness. It sounds different. So that was part of the worry too, is just that there might be something going on. And I just wanted you to know as a mom and as a friend. So
thank you.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. Now we're all crying. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so mirroring, validating, and empathizing. Thanks, Beth, for role playing with me.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, Stephanie, what did you notice?
I loved Beth being able to first of all, voice that and have courage to share.
Yeah.
And I loved how you, because you were in a posture of being able to listen, that was at the forefront of your brain, you were able to truly hear what she was sharing instead of hearing a few words and then reacting, which escalates the situation. So by you being able to just calmly be able to hear her and then reiterate what she's saying and empathize and validate all of that, it created a resolution.
That is really profound, and it seems simpler than it is to do. It's hard to do. But one of the tools that I use and that I coach others to use, and I know you coach as well, is you have to separate from this being about me. This is not about me as Tara Matson. This is about the fact that you're hurting, you're concerned for your daughter, and it's out here. I'm looking at it like the two of us are looking at it out here. When we make it about me as a person, that's when the defenses go up. And when I'm starting to hear the voice of, you're saying I'm a bad mom, you're saying my daughter is, that's where we go south.
Yes.
So my identity has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. My identity is secure. I am loved. I am known. God has a purpose. And I am going to believe that Beth has the best in mind for my daughter, her daughter, as well as for our friendship. That's where I'm starting from. And my hope is that I can do a good job, a decent job to listen, understand. Then at the end of that conversation, Beth, you would get to say, hey, I'd love to hear where you're coming from. Is there anything I'm missing? And I know you would do that. But that often is the last piece that gets missed. One side talks a lot. The other side doesn't say anything. And then bitterness starts to build. So it would be important that, Beth, you would give me time to talk. But in this situation, I might just be like, let's brainstorm. What should I do? I need to go investigate. I need to understand where my daughter's coming from. And then I'll come back and talk to you.
Okay.
So we're working as a team, as adults, mamas, to help our daughters. How else do we need to be doing that, Beth and Stephanie, when we're thinking about coming alongside our daughters and helping them in their own conflicts?
Something that I think is really important, and something that I know we've discussed a little bit before, is the idea of when our daughters bring something to us and it's privileged information, and balancing privileged information with confidentiality and holding that tension of knowing, is there something that they're bringing to me that there's somebody's well-being in jeopardy, and understanding how to navigate that piece. Because I know as moms that I think that's a common situation, that we are getting information and how to work through that.
And we want to get information, right? We're
Yes.
building this trusted relationship with our daughters and our sons so that when they come to us, that's huge. So you don't want to break that confidence.
No, you don't want to break that confidence. I totally agree.
You just want to ditto that.
I do. It's a big one. It's a really big one, and it's hard. And I was thinking, even as you were talking about between you and your daughter, I'm thinking too, even as, specifically as a leader, and we might talk about this later, but you're holding everybody's beautiful stories as you're learning it, right? And as they're sharing, and you're trying to figure out when a conflict comes up, or when a mom is feeling hurt, or when your friend feels that this friend said this and what did they mean, or they're just feeling hurt and distance. What do you do with that? How do you know when to step in and help with and do something about it? Or when do you know when to just confidentially just hold it? And I think it's the same thing with our daughters. When do we share, or when do we just hold it? When do I just talk to my daughter about, let's give your friend grace, and what have you talked to your friend? Have you,
Yeah.
So figuring out what to do with all that.
So we're gonna give some fast track solutions here, but know that there's so many nuances to these situations. So we're trusting that you're prayerful about this. But step one, I would say we want to really give our daughters a chance to work through things, maybe prayerfully, maybe being able to try some solutions at home. You're talking late at night before bed, and you're saying, let's try this tomorrow and see how that goes. Maybe you go and ask them, how comfortable would you feel to go and talk to them? Do you need my help? And if they need your help, then that's when two moms would come together and sit with their two daughters, and they're going to coach them and have their daughters back, but being able to help them have that conversation. And Beth, you and I have done that. We have plenty in our Courageous Girls groups that have done that with each other, and we're coaching them along the way. It is such a vital piece. They're not going to learn how to do that without us being there. And then by the time they get to 8th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade, they're going to be doing it on their own. And we're watching that happen. It's hard.
Tara, wouldn't you say when you started Courageous Girls, how much did you see looking ahead at conflict resolution? Because Courageous Girls is like the perfect setting for kind of forcing these tools to be taught, because you're not just talking about the weather. So women are naturally going deeper. And so there's naturally going to be, when you do that, conflict resolution in order to go deeper and build trust. So how much did you even consider that when you started Courageous Girls?
Great question. It was actually at the forefront of a majority of what I wanted to see happen, because in the counseling office, it's the number one issue on every level. And I was really struck by how women don't know how to do this conflict well. And so trying to help them with the bully on the playground or the best friend or the mean girls, it was a constant dialogue in the counseling office. And then I'd come home and I'd sit in my daughter's beds, and the same kind of thing. We're talking through what happened at recess. And so it was at the forefront. And I knew, just like marriage, you have to have commitment in order to be able to feel safe enough to address conflict. And we just don't have enough commitment in our communities. So Courageous Girls is a committed relationship that says we're gonna work through this together, and I'm vowing to come to you if you're hurting me or I'm hurting you. And I want to help our girls learn how to do that. And we've seen from 2nd grade to 8th grade, they're changing drastically. And some years, kids are going to feel closer to the others, and there's lots and lots of ways to practice. But my hope is by the time we launch them into adulthood, they're going to have some great skills.
I hope.
They will. They will. And it's cheaper than therapy. Just saying. But once we have kind of exhausted, like it's not working at home, then that's where we need to intervene. Asking permission of our kids to say, you know what you're telling me right now sounds concerning to me as an adult. I think that mom might really want to know, and that little one, your friend, needs some help. And so that might be an issue of maybe they're looking at something on social media. Maybe they're hiding things from their parents and they're laughing about it with your daughter, and your daughter's telling you, and you're going, the hiding's concerning. It might be something small, but it's the hiding. When we want to go to another adult, ask your daughter first, is it okay? And if they're concerned about being seen as a snitch or that getting out, then you as an adult need to come up with a clever way to approach that parent. Majority of the time, the kids will say thank you. They'll want you to go talk to that parent. If it is something that's harming that kid, it's a life or death, or they're in an abusive situation, then that breaches confidentiality. And as adults, we have duty to warn, and we need to go get that child some help. So I want to make that very clear that we are not going to participate in hiding things that are harmful. But majority of the issues are really around, obviously, parenting differences. Some parents let their kids have iPhones really early and others don't. And so it might be just a preference. So you're going to have to listen to your own discernment. But I would say the biggest thing that I want us to get out of today in terms of is not to run from conflict, and to have courage to be able to be honest, to protect our children. Our children need us to fight with them, to learn how to build these muscles. And as women, especially those in Courageous Girls groups, is to practice with each other. And that this is how you get closer and how you have deeper friendships. It kind of is the only way. Going and having fun is another way to do it, but that will only take you so far. So before we close, I want you guys to hear something super important. Beth and Stephanie are available as Courageous Girls coaches to come alongside you with your very specific needs in your group. Beth, why would someone reach out to you today and to say, hey, I'd love to take advantage of the coaching sessions you offer? What do you think you could offer when it comes to conflict resolution?
Oh, it's such an awesome program. So if you decide that coaching it's sounding a little interesting to you, basically what that means is if you sign up to be a partner, you get a free little session with coaching. That's one track you can do. You can just ask for coaching on its own. That's another track you can do. But what that means is that you set up an appointment with Stephanie or I, and you get to share what's going on specifically in your group. And there's some conflict going on. I mean, we deal with it within our own groups. And so just having one of us to ask questions, we listen, we ask more questions, and then to just help move through some ideas of how to handle it, to encourage you because you're not alone. It's like having a friend. It is. It's like having a friend that you can go to when you just don't know what to do. And especially as a leader, you feel so alone as a leader because we were talking before, you can't go to just anyone in your group and share because then you're breaking confidentiality. So to be able to go to someone and honestly share, someone who's neutral and they can listen and provide some guidance, it's a huge thing.
It is a huge thing. Stephanie, do you want to add anything before we close?
Yeah, I was just going to say it really is a gift of investing in yourself to give yourself that hour to process through, whether you're wanting to press into some conflict resolution and understand your wiring, your heart wiring through the context of the CVI and understanding why I respond to a situation because of my heart wiring. There's so much to unpack and to process through. And have a greater understanding of yourself and begin to use those tools then and implement them into your relationships. So Beth and I would love to hear from you and partner with you in a coaching session. So
I love it. I'm so excited that they have joined our team. And so again, if you want to learn more about who they are or just what the coaching involves, go to mycourageousgirls.com and explore a little bit more. And you might be thinking, hey, I don't do Courageous Girls. I have sons. But you can still take advantage of our coaching. They are going to help with wiring, and they're going to help with parenting, and they're going to help you grow as a woman of courage. So check that out. And we have part 2 coming up. So if you really enjoyed listening to this and you want to know more, then make sure you check out part 2. It's going to be located on the Patreon page for those who are supporting Courageous Girls, and you can have access about how to do conflict resolution well. Thank you for joining us in being a leader committed to shrinking the integrity gap between the values we espouse and the values we actually live out in practice.